Get the facts right.
On average, nearly 20 people every minute are physically abused by their significant other. In 1 year, that equals more than 10 million men and women, including thousands of people living right here in the North State. Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jennifer Scarborough.
And I'm Allison Woods. Statistics surrounding domestic violence show a steady increase over the last 3 years in Shasta, Tehama, and Butte counties. So we went to see what this means for the North State, for victims, and for law enforcement.
Yeah, KRCR News Channel 7's Madison Wade has been working for about a month gathering statistics and crunching these numbers to try and expose the issues behind domestic violence cases here. And she's joining us now with what she's learned. Madison.
Yeah, Jennifer, Allison, good evening. I have been gathering statistics from law enforcement agencies all over the North State. We chose to do a few ride-alongs with officers in Shasta County who see domestic violence quite often. We did all of this to expose the real issues of what happens behind closed doors. And what we found out may be surprising to you.
So far, they're out of Shasta County.
This year will be my 10th year working for Shasta County Sheriff's Office.
Shasta County Deputy Cody Bodner has been around the block, literally and figuratively. He works the city of Shasta Lake, where he says deputies respond to at least 5 domestic violence calls in every 12-hour shift.
Domestic violence is such a big issue, and it is a very, hot topic, or as far as a reoccurring trend in law enforcement, where we have to go to domestic violence calls and make the right decision on enforcing those laws.
Bodner says the calls range from so-called verbal altercations,
SHOSCOM 206 will be outdated,
or arguments, to threats, to fistfights. Bodner says every call is different, and they aren't always what you might expect.
The classic dogma of basically, the men always being the suspects or the aggressors in domestic violence incidents isn't always, the classic man versus woman. It goes both ways.
Bodner says domestic violence doesn't abide by social and economic boundaries. He's been on calls at multi-million-dollar homes, and he's also searched through the woods in transient camps.
That's the thing that I've learned most, is that, it happens to everybody. It's very across the spectrum.
In 2013, Shasta County law enforcement responded to 995 domestic violence calls. In 2014, it rose to 1,058, and just last year, it stayed steady at 1,041. In the past 2 years, there have been a little over 2,000 domestic violence reports taken by Shasta County law enforcement. 1,240 arrests were made, and 1,640 were sent to the DA's office to be prosecuted, with an 87.5% conviction rate. Many of these cases carry over several years because domestic violence cases aren't simple. They take time. Out of all those statistics, Reading police handle the highest number of domestic violence calls. Their department responded to more than half of the calls in Shasta County over the last 3 years. Officer Devin Kettle works the night shift for Reading PD. It's one of the busiest shifts for domestic violence calls.
Reporting party is advising that a male and female are in a 415 physical, which is basically a disturbance or some sort.
Just a few hours in, he's got his first DV call.
He was beating the car, swinging on her.
Is that her car right there?
Yeah,
or
that's her car.
Okay.
It turns out the fight is between a mother and her son.
And you're obviously in a rough spot.
Is it your son or is it a boyfriend?
She's advising verbal only, negative physical.
Even though witnesses say the fight was physical, the mother insists nothing happened. Kettle says it's typical for a victim to shy away from telling the truth to protect the abuser.
Victims don't want to be victims. I can't force the male or the female to tell me the truth.
Even though this call didn't end with someone handcuffed, law enforcement officers in Shasta County are constantly arresting people for these types of crimes. At any given time, about 10% of the people in the Shasta County jail are facing domestic violence charges.
For the vast majority of cases, most deputies will make an arrest on any kind of domestic violence physical altercation.
California is a mandatory report state, which means officers must make an arrest if they suspect any physical violence has occurred.
Do they have injuries? Do they have outward signs of being abused in any way?
Sometimes the answers are not clear. Police say victims often hide behind their bruises and scars, allowing the cycle of abuse to continue.
George 748.
Until police knock on the door one last time.
So how do you break the cycle of abuse? How can you prevent yourself or someone you know from becoming just another statistic? Well, I sat down with a woman living at one safe place currently in Reading. Her story is remarkable. Tune in to KRCR News Channel 7 tomorrow to hear how she saved her life and what message she has to other domestic violence victims. Madison Wade, KRCR News Channel 7.
Thank you, Madison. The numbers for Butte County paint a different picture. Since the population is higher in Butte County, the stats are greater, but nevertheless, it shows an increase, one that can't be ignored. In 2013, Butte County Sheriff deputies responded to 556 domestic violence calls. In 2014, it jumped to 506, and in 2015, it jumped even more to 606. Chico police saw increases as well. In 2013, domestic violence calls came in at 463. In 2014, it increased to 491. And 1 year later, it topped off at 576. For both the Butte County Jail and Shasta County Jail have on average 10% of their inmates facing domestic violence charges. Tehama County numbers are much lower. In 2013, law enforcement in Tehama County responded to 471 calls. In 2014, it was 473. Last year, they responded to 425. And there is help available for people trying to get out of abusive situations. We have information about resources available in Shasta, Tehama, and Butte counties on our website and our mobile app. Just click on the fact file. And if you don't have our free mobile app, you can search KRCR in your phone's app store.